is there an age limit on egg freezing? So no, there is not, at least not at CNY. However, it is important for people to understand some statistics. And so women are born with all of the eggs they will ever have. And so you don't make more eggs. And so as we get older, two things happen. One is that we start to lose eggs. And two, the eggs in our ovaries can become, really the DNA can break down and become damaged or kind of unstable. And so as we get older, not only is it harder to get eggs in general, it's just harder to get even chromosomally normal eggs. And so, for instance, the live birth rate per egg you freeze, if you're less than 30, it's 7.4%. If you're 30 to 34, it's 7%. If you're 35 to 37, it's 6.5%. If you're 38 or older, it's 5.2%. So for instance, if you're 38, this means that you should bank 20 eggs for an optimal outcome of one child. And so for some people, depending on your ovarian reserve, this may mean doing multiple egg freezing cycles. Women really who are less than 35 or have froze eggs at less than 35 can expect about 30% of those embryos to be abnormal. At 35 to 37, you can expect about 40% of those embryos to be abnormal from the eggs you froze. And then 38 to 40, you can expect about 60 to be abnormal. And at 41 or older, you can expect to have 70% or more of those eggs that become embryos be abnormal. And so I think it's important for people to know that although there's really not an age limit, at least that CNY has, to kind of decide if that is worth the investment for you. So if you're going to have to do, 2 to 3 cycles for potentially 70% of those to be abnormal, I think the important part is for patients to understand the statistics and decide if it's worth, if the return is worth the investment for them. Another thing is how many eggs should I freeze? And I feel like this is a great question and is something that you should be discussing with your provider because it's going to depend on a couple of things. So it's going to depend on your age. It's going to depend on your anti-Mullerian hormone number, your AMH, which is a blood test that gives us kind of an idea of what your ovarian reserve looks like, meaning how many eggs you potentially have left. That number tells us how well you're going to respond to medications. So what does your ovarian reserve look like? What's your age? Meaning how many of those eggs do we expect to be normal or abnormal? And I think one thing that's not asked enough is what is your goal? So if you were to rely on these eggs to build your entire family, how many children would you want if you could write out your perfect family? If that answer is 1, then for instance, at 38, you may only need 20. If you're older and you want 3 kids, then that may mean more. One tool I do refer my patients to is a tool called mdcalc.com. And if you go to the search bar and you type in egg freezing calculator, it comes up with the tool and you can plug in your age. And then for number of eggs, you can put like 15. And it'll give you a percentage of your chances of having 1 child, 2 children, or 3 children based on that number. And you can kind of play with that number on there based on your age and kind of make a plan with your provider about, how many eggs you're going to make a goal to freeze. Is there a perfect age for egg freezing? I would say the biggest answer, just in general, is younger than 37. If you're between the ages of 32 to 35 and you know that you're going to be delaying childbearing, then do it sooner rather than later. I'm a big advocate for sooner is always better. I froze my eggs at 28 last year. And for me, I didn't want to wait to see, okay, well, maybe I'll meet someone and have children, or I have PCOS, so my egg reserve is a little bit higher. And so I didn't want to wait and see, I should have done this last year because now my reserve is really low and it's going to be harder to get eggs. So really, those are the general answers below 37, 32 to 35. If you know you're going to delay childbearing, but really the younger the better.